Hello and welcome to another episode of Life Lessons from a Lawyer. My name is Peter Hastings, a lawyer in England, educationalist, education administrator. Today I'm going to talk about how to say bad things nicely and the importance of saying bad things nicely. Now, in England, we have some old-fashioned traditions when we go to court, and these all allow us to say bad things nicely. The one is that when we're talking about our opponent, lawyer opponents, we always have to say my friend or my learned friend, which is an old-fashioned way of saying that they're clever. Um, so we never say him over there or that idiot, which we might think. But even if we think that, we have to say to the judge, I heard what my learned friend said, and with respect, I don't agree. So the other thing we often have to say is with respect. Even if we don't actually have any respect, we say that anyway. And that allows us to argue over perhaps hundreds of thousands of pounds. You might be arguing over who's going to have the children, who's going to have the house, who's going to win the business. Is someone going to be kicked out of their house? These are serious issues which mean a lot to people, but they are still spoken about in a civil and polite way. And that allows us actually to get the job done. And it means that we don't end up deciding the issue by who can punch the other person the hardest, which is what it would come to, I think. And another element of this is, again, in England, but I think it's common in a lot of countries. We have special names for the judge. We don't call them by their name. We call them judge or your honor, or in the past we used to use your worship sometimes, or my lord. Some of them is a bit historical, but they sound old-fashioned and silly, but they do mean that we've got respect for the authority of the judge, and we've got respect for the person we're arguing with. And that allows us to conduct the argument properly. And it means that in ordinary day life, it's equally applicable. It's important to realize that the argument you're having is actually with the argument that the other person is putting to you, not with the other person. So it's not enough to say, no, you're wrong, you stupid idiot, because maybe they're not wrong. And anyway, if they are wrong, it's not because they're a stupid idiot. It's just because maybe they've looked at things incorrectly, they've been told the wrong information, or perhaps just because their life story is different to yours. So, again, another saying we have in England where we like some football is that because in football you can kick the ball as hard as you like, but you're not allowed to kick your opponents. And so we call that playing the ball and not the man. And in fact, it's a free kick if you play the man and not the ball. This applies to women of the same way, of course. And it just emphasizes that even in what can be a rough game like football, there are still rules. You still only can kick the ball, not your opponent. And when we're discussing important things as well as trivial things, you have to play the argument, play the ball, not your opponent. And that way you've got more chance of reaching an agreement, or at least an understanding, and also not doing injury, so that in 6 months' time you're still remembering the bad things you said about each other, instead of the bad things you said about each other's arguments, which is a totally different thing. So I'm hoping that would help. I'll see you again soon in the next episode.